I could get results for people like crazy, but I wasn't confident in how I could get them. I knew that once I was under the hood of your business, it was easy for me, right? But I couldn't articulate or see from the outside because, quite frankly, I hadn't done enough work on myself to figure out what questions to ask because I was just go, 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 go. And it was like bull in China shop. And so I feel like I relied on that context confusion so much because I lacked confidence in what I was doing. And so I'd love to kind of hear like your thoughts around that.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent observation. And I think it's completely natural early on in any career, entrepreneurial or not, to like, we want to go in and be the hero. And there's nothing wrong with that. And we learn a ton. So there's absolutely nothing I would regret because I've done the same thing. So, but there's nothing to regret there. However, the problem comes up when you want to replicate your success. Mm-hmm. And if you can't, you and I have been selling long enough and been in the game long enough that it's like, we can, in a healthy, serving way, create some overwhelm, and that's okay. And then we can lead a prospect through that and get them to the destination to sign and then get the result. But that's not the fastest path. And it's only something that you as the founder or the CEO, that the entrepreneur in the business can do, because you have all knowledge, all power, and all resources in your little world, right? Mm-hmm. In your business. But the second that you would want to say like, oh, I want to replicate what we have done for these other companies, I want to keep charging 6 figures or whatever you charge, and I'm going to have team member X do that. One, you just don't work because you can't sell it, because you have to sell a tangible result, because your charisma and your experience and your personal results won't carry that deal. And so, yeah, sorry.
But it feels so good at the same time.
Yeah. And so like, we're in the process of building out the toughest, one of the toughest departments in my company has been building out the sales department, because I can sell whatever I want, whenever I want. And I realize that's great, but it's because of just having that whole holistic, global, universal knowledge of what we can do and what the company can do. And now, we're walking through the same framework with our team of like getting crystal clear on what the results are going to be, asking the right people, giving them the reasons why they should consider working with us, and giving them reasons why they shouldn't work with us if they're not a fit. And when you start to view all your communication inside of these frameworks and tools, it becomes a lot easier to go, oh, that's why we didn't get this result, because it wasn't communicated effectively. Or, this was the wrong decision because they didn't use this decision-making tool that we communicated about as well inside the book, that will make if every single team member on your team uses this one tool that we call the circle of life. If they use that, you will empower your team to make better decisions than you can make on your own. And if they actually use it, they'll never make a bad decision, because regardless, most of the time they'll make an effective decision that will move the company forward. And for the times that they make a mistake, they'll be able to explain to you why they chose it, why the mistake happened, and it'll be an amazing learning opportunity for the company, instead of it being like, oh, you screwed up again, you suck, which can happen if we don't communicate effectively. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because like, even talking about that, like 2 thoughts came to mind. Number one is like, I just assumed for years, like, oh, I don't need to practice communication. I don't need to know, like, I can talk, right? Like, we're born without the ability to speak. So whoever trained us, and whatever life we grew up in and formed our paradigm, socioeconomics, religion, money, schools, aunts, uncles, whatever, formed our ability to communicate. And newsflash, I don't think many people are trained to effectively communicate when you look at the results of the world and why there's $1 billion industry around personal development, right? And so
yeah.
I love this, but I think it took me till you were 29 when you realized you were a copywriter. I was 34 when I realized I couldn't figure it out all by myself inside the pill bottle I was stuck in. And so communication being one of them. And I think it's an amazing distinction, but you just said something that I think is cool. And I'd love to, like, even if you can break down a little bit, like, or give an overview of what the circle of life is, because I follow a lot of conscious parenting stuff. Like, my son's 4, my daughter's 16. So I have quite the gamut of communication, right? Like, I got one that if I'm not careful, she will just attack me because I don't know what I'm doing. Then I got one that is so good, he can manipulate me at 4 already because he's so cute. And he's got that like lovey from daddy, and you got kids, so, and I was reading this and I caught myself the other day. I might cry when I say this, but 4-year-olds, like, he tests boundaries, he tries things, he does things, right? And I saw this thing and it was a short little video and it was like, okay, cool. Try not to make your child lie twice. And I was like, okay, I'm hooked. Let me watch. And they're like, when you go up to your child and you're like, hey, and in my case, Branson, did you draw on the wall? I already know he drew on the wall. I didn't do it. My wife didn't do it. My daughter didn't do it. Our pet snakes didn't do it, right? Like, there's one person with markers in the house that would draw on the wall. And they're like, the moment you ask him something that you already know, you just taught him to lie twice. And I was like,
Wow.
Oh shit. Like, this was like an Instagram reel or something. And I had to sit down and like process 4 years of parenting in that moment. Like, it was like a flashback. And then I was like, holy shit. That is the most ineffective form of communication that does not create a desirable result for my son. Because now he already knows he did it. And then I'm questioning it, creating the shame cycle. And then I'm exacerbating it and giving him the only option out is to lie again because he doesn't want to upset me. And I was like, whoa. And so I like sat down with my wife and my nanny and I like consciously thought about it. And then another thing happened. And then it was completely different because I took a direct frame and I was like, hey, and I'm using writing on the wall as an example. It wasn't. It was around food and something else, but everybody gets it. And I was like, hey, Bubbies, listen, I know you wrote on the wall and we don't do that. So here's the 2 things that we can do. And immediately he was like, oh, Daddy, and like, it was very open and he was very there. There was no shame. There was no cowering. It was like almost like a redirect with the frame. But then I realized, like, even in my business at times, something will be done and I know they didn't do it. And I'm like, hey, so what happened? Why wasn't it done? Or didn't you know better? And it's like I'm seeding this like nastiness and I don't like it. I've been working on it since I saw that video. But it ties into like what you said, because it's like, okay, cool. If we have a process and you're supposed to follow it, I don't need to be like, hey, Gabe, did you follow the process? Like, I see the result. You didn't follow the fucking process.
Yeah.